Lan Kwai Fong glows like a beacon, drenched in neon and intoxication. Tourists drown in music, believing the night forgives all sins. Yet beneath laughter lurks something ancient. Steps shift, shadows swell, and doors breathe where no hinges exist. The district is not alive with joy. It feeds and waits. Every tragedy here refuses silence. Collapsed balconies, stampedes, drunken falls names, erased from headlines, still whisper against damp stone. The air is thick with voices cut short, replayed endlessly in narrow alleys. Revelers believe they are safe, yet the ground remembers weight, impact, and screams too sudden to finish speaking aloud. Some claim the streets bend at night, leading dancers into stairwells that spiral forever. Others see reflections in glass that move differently than the living. A drink left untouched froths, as if stirred by invisible hands. Lan Kwai Fong entertains thousands, yet also holds them in a grip colder than morning. Locals avoid certain corners, though they never explain why. Neon burns bright, but one wrong step slides you into silence, deeper than the ocean. Music fades, breath quickens, and the realization blooms there are places no crowd can reach. The district shines outward, but within, something gnaws with patient hunger. These are not legends, polished by time. They are warnings whispered between bartenders and taxi drivers, stories dismissed until experienced firsthand. Tonight, we walk into Hong Kong's cursed stairwell, Shanghai's woman in red, and Seoul's silent balcony. They are three true stories of nightlife, where light deceives and shadows demand. If you dare to face the haunted side of Asian nightlife, stay. Hear three terrifying true stories and carry their weight into your own silence. Subscribe now, invite the fearless, and tell us from which city you watch. Lower the lights and notice what remains when music finally stops. Lan Kwai Fong's light spilled into narrow passages, but one stairwell waited in silence. For friends, drunk on laughter, sought a shortcut home. They found the staircase tucked between crumbling walls, lit by a buzzing fluorescent bulb. Its steps glistened with dampness, promising a brief descent. None questioned its emptiness. The night welcomed them downward, swallowing sound with each step. What began as convenience soon revealed itself as a passage where direction no longer obeyed reason. Concrete walls pressed closer the deeper they went, their laughter thinning into whispers. Neon glow vanished behind them, replaced by shadows that breathed heavier with each descent. A cold smell of mildew wrapped around their throats. One friend traced a hand along the wall and recoiled. The surface pulsed faintly, moist and alive, as if the stairwell itself inhaled their presence. They exchanged uneasy looks, but pressed on, convinced the street waited just a floor below. At the first landing, a rusted railing greeted them. They turned, expecting the exit to appear soon. Instead, another identical flight stretched downward, same light, same cracked walls. Their footsteps echoed too long, bouncing back like voices from unseen mouths. A cigarette burn on the wall appeared, familiar yet impossible. The smallest friend whispered they had already passed it. The others dismissed him, but unease thickened, clinging like the sweat dripping down their trembling necks. The second landing brought a discarded bottle, sweating condensation, though the stairwell air was warm. One girl picked it up but dropped it instantly, claiming it was icy despite the heat. The bottle rolled, spiraling down the steps, yet the sound never faded. They listened, waiting for impact, but the echo stretched endlessly. Somewhere below, something tapped faintly in reply. Fear cracked their confidence. Still, descending felt safer than turning back, though no one said why. They descended again, silence pressing against their ears. One friend counted steps aloud, reaching 20 before the landing appeared. Another swore the last flight held 20 as well. Identical graffiti smeared the wall, repeating symbols like a pattern looped across time. The girl trembled, insisting someone walked just ahead, a shadow bending around the corners. Their eyes strained, but the only movement came from the flicker of the fluorescent bulb above, pulsing like a heartbeat. Aaron, the smallest, stopped abruptly. He placed his hand against the wall again, face paling. Beneath the concrete throbbed a vibration, faint but rhythmic, like breathing stitched into stone. He pulled away, leaving a damp print that lingered, pulsing after his hand had gone. His friends demanded he move, fear sharpening their voices. Yet none denied the chills surging down their spines. Something unseen pressed closer, matching their pace. Downward felt endless, yet upward felt forbidden. The stairwell's air thickened, clinging to their lungs. Each breath carried the taste of rust and mold. Laughter above had long vanished, whispers seeped from below. They tried to turn back, but horror bloomed the stairwell upward, stretched infinitely, identical to the one beneath. Both directions led nowhere. Fear hollowed their eyes as realization sank into bone. Panic shoved them downward, footsteps slamming on damp concrete. Shadows thickened, swallowing the bulb's flicker. They stumbled past another landing, another bottle, the same graffiti looping endlessly. Nausea twisted their stomachs, like motion sickness without movement. The stairwell pulsed, breathing with them. The smallest girl cried, swearing a man waited below. None saw him, yet the air grew colder as if proving her right. A scream tore through the silence, sharp enough to shatter the hum of the bulb. One of the friends clutched her ankle, insisting unseen hands had pulled her. The skin bore no marks, yet her leg trembled violently, refusing to bear weight. They dragged her forward, each step heavier, shoulders aching under unseen pressure. Their echoes no longer belonged to them alone. Something else moved within the rhythm. One more footstep added to the group, without invitation. Shadows warped across the walls, no longer obeying their bodies. Figures elongated, stretched upward as if climbing free of the stairwell. Aaron froze, staring at his own shadow split into two. One remained attached, trembling like his body. The other stood still, detached, head tilted unnaturally. He whimpered, eyes wet, and turned away, but the second shadow lingered, burned into the wall, as though waiting for its moment to detach fully and follow them downward. The group stopped to rest, hearts pounding violently. The injured girl whispered she heard a child crying below. The sound drifted upward, weaving through silence. None dared reply, but sobs grew louder, filling the stairwell with grief. Then it stopped. Silence returned heavier, suffocating. Faces paled as realization spread. Whatever had wept below now listened above, measuring hesitation. Fear became a leash, dragging them deeper into the spiral. Their descent lost meaning. Hunger gnawed their stomachs, thirst parched lips, yet the stairwell remained unchanged. The bulb flickered, but never dimmed, its hum eternal. Time folded and disintegrated. Phones died at once, screens blackening. In the reflection of a cracked screen, a face appeared white, eyeless, smiling too wide. None admitted seeing it, but each knew, by the silence in their eyes, the reflection had been real. At the 13th landing, exhaustion shredded their resolve. The injured girl collapsed, whispering she wanted to stop. Her eyes rolled back, breath shallow. As they tried lifting her, her body felt heavier than flesh, as though the stairwell poured weight into her bones. When they looked up, their stomachs collapsed. The bulb above had vanished. Only darkness remained. Below, another flicker lit faintly, waiting, promising the descent would continue forever if they dared take another step. They never agreed to continue, yet their bodies moved. Downward felt commanded, every step stolen from their will. The injured girl opened her eyes, pupils hollow, mouth widening too far. A whisper echoed from her lips, layered with voices not her own. The stairwell had claimed her first. One by one, the others followed, feet dragging, pulled deeper. The staircase offered no ending, only hunger. Outside, the bar music roared, masking the silence that devoured them. To this day, whispers rippled through Shanghai's nightlife. The woman in red waits for the isolated, appearing beneath neon lights where music falters. She hunts those blind to warnings, those who mistake crowds for safety. Her presence clings to reflections, demanding attention. Once seen, she is never forgotten. Bars thrive, streets pulse, but somewhere between glass and flesh, she waits silently, crimson brighter than blood, smiling with hunger that never ends. May had worked late, her nerves tangled with stress. She joined colleagues at a bar, seeking release in laughter and drinks. After midnight, the group scattered, leaving her alone. The streets pulsed with light, but a strange emptiness cut through the noise. She adjusted her jacket, heels tapping against wet pavement. That was when she saw her still as stone beneath a glowing sign, a woman in a crimson dress too bright against the night. The figure's head was bowed, long hair spilling across her pale face. Her dress shimmered as though freshly soaked, clinging unnaturally to her frame. May froze, breath caught. Crowds streamed around them, yet none seemed to notice. She whispered a polite excuse, stepping aside, but the woman's head lifted slightly. Through the curtain of hair, two eyes gleamed faintly. They were too dark, reflecting no light, swallowing the neon glow instead of returning it outward. Heart racing, May quickened her pace. The city buzzed around her, yet footsteps echoed behind, distinct, measured, never hurried. She turned sharply into another street. The sound followed. Every attempt to blend with the crowd failed. Strangers passed with vacant smiles, oblivious. May's mouth dried, her pulse hammering. She risked a glance back. The woman in red was closer now, head still lowered, moving with impossible grace, as if gliding without touching the ground. She ducked into a small convenience store, lungs burning. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and customers shuffled between aisles. Relief seeped through her nerves until she noticed the glass door. Outside, framed perfectly by neon glow, the woman stood motionless. Her crimson dress bled across the reflection like spreading ink. The cashier rang her purchase without looking outside. May pleaded silently for someone to react, but no eyes acknowledged the figure watching from the street. Gathering courage, May left quickly, clutching her bag. She merged with a crowd of late-night revelers. Music poured from bars, spilling into the streets. Yet her skin prickled with certainty. The woman remained close. Turning, she saw her again, weaving effortlessly through dancers. No one collided with her, no shoulder brushed her arm. The reveler's eyes slid past, blind. Only May felt the gaze, heavy as chains, shackling her every step in the crowded street. A sudden wind swept through, scattering flyers along the pavement. May caught sight of the reflection in a mirrored pillar. The crowd danced brightly, bodies tangled in rhythm. Yet behind her own reflection stood the woman in red, her head now lifted fully. Her face appeared too smooth, features faint as smudged paint. A crooked smile stretched across her pale lips. May spun around, terrified, but the crowd was all she saw. The figure vanished. Her phone vibrated. A message appeared from an unknown number, blank except for one red dot pulsing on the screen. She dropped the phone, heart lurching. When she bent to pick it up, the screen cracked, bleeding faint light. Behind her, in the reflection of a shop window, the woman waited again, closer than before. May pressed forward desperately, weaving through strangers who laughed and swayed, their joy obscene beside her private descent into dread. She reached her apartment tower, relief flooding briefly. The lobby glowed with sterile light, empty, but safe. The glass doors slid shut behind her, sealing the outside world. Yet in the reflection, just before the doors closed, the woman in red smiled faintly, head tilted. May froze. Security cameras blinked above, red lights glowing like eyes. The elevators opened with a chime. She stepped inside quickly, pressing the button repeatedly, begging the doors to close. The ride upward felt endless. Her ears popped faintly. She tried calming her breath, gripping her bag tight. Then she saw the reflection in the mirrored elevator walls. The woman stood behind her, closer than breath, her face pale, blurred, lips stretched in silence. May spun, heart clawing her ribs. The elevator was empty, yet the reflection remained, smiling with hunger. When the doors opened, the figure was gone, but the air carried her scent. Her apartment greeted her with stillness. She locked the door twice, then collapsed against it. Her phone buzzed again on the floor. The same message blinked, a single red dot. She hurled the device away, trembling. In the window's reflection, a crimson figure stood faintly in the glass. Outside, the city roared, but in her room, silence drowned everything. The woman's image leaned closer, until May's reflection trembled and warped under its weight. She drew the curtains tightly, yet shadows slipped through fabric. Exhausted, she collapsed onto her bed, heart thrashing. Sleep clawed at her, but every time her eyes shut, footsteps echoed faintly. She rose once, daring to peek. At the foot of her bed, the woman in red lingered, head bent, face hidden. May screamed, but no sound came. Her mouth opened wide, throat strained, yet silence swallowed her terror whole, leaving her trembling in horror. Morning light never brought relief. Neighbors found her apartment untouched, door locked from inside. Her phone lay shattered, the red dot still pulsing across the cracked screen. Curtains remained drawn, yet faint streaks of red stained the fabric like blood diluted in rain. May was gone, leaving only silence and a faint perfume of roses. Witnesses outside swore they saw her walking home, yet none remembered anyone at her side, though reflections told another story. To this day, whispers ripple through Shanghai's nightlife. The woman in red waits for the isolated, appearing beneath neon lights where music falters. She seeks those blind to warnings, those who mistake crowds for safety. Her presence lingers in reflections, impossible to ignore. Once seen, she cannot be forgotten. Bars thrive, streets pulse, but somewhere between glass and flesh, she waits in silence, crimson brighter than blood, smiling with hunger that never ends. Seoul's Itaewon district thrums with restless energy. Music shakes the windows, laughter spills across neon-drenched streets. Yet among the glowing signs stand older apartments, forgotten and dark. On one balcony, they say, a figure waits where no tenant lives. A student named Daniel, new to the city, discovered it after leaving a party. Searching for quiet, he lit a cigarette, stepping outside into cool night air. Across the street, his gaze met something impossible. A girl stood motionless on a crumbling balcony opposite his. Her pale figure leaned against the railing, hair long and tangled across her face. Her dress, simple and gray, clung as though damp. Daniel blinked, certain his tired eyes played tricks. Yet when he looked again, she remained. Around him, voices laughed inside. Across the street, the girl tilted her head slightly. No sound carried, but the silence pressed heavier than the music behind him. He turned back inside, laughing nervously. Friends sprawled across couches, lost in drinks and chatter. When he asked who lived opposite, none answered. One said the building was condemned, empty for years. Daniel returned to the balcony. The girl was still there, closer to the railing now, her hair shifting with unseen wind. He called out across the street, voice trembling. His friends joined him, but they saw nothing. Their eyes met, only empty stone. Daniel insisted, pointing frantically. His friends teased him, saying he drank too much. Yet when they left him alone, the air chilled. The girl raised her arm slowly, finger pressing to her lips, a gesture of silence. The cigarette shook between his fingers. He whispered for her to stop. Her head tilted further, an unnatural angle, as though bones bent differently. Still, she never moved her feet, yet her presence felt unbearably close. Desperate to break the spell, he pulled out his phone, snapping a photo. The screen showed her clearly, pale face blurred beneath long black hair. Behind her, the window was sealed with boards. His heart dropped. He looked up from the screen. The balcony was empty. He exhaled, relief flooding. Then his phone buzzed violently. The photo shifted, the girl leaning forward, closer than before. The image warped, and suddenly the screen went black. He rushed inside, locking the balcony door. His friends laughed, unaware of his trembling hands. Yet when he glanced at the dark glass, her reflection appeared faintly, pressed against it from the outside. He shouted, startling the room, but when lights came on, the glass was empty. They mocked him, saying stress made him see ghosts. Daniel tried to believe them, though the faint scent of damp earth seeped into the apartment, clinging to him. That night, Daniel slept poorly. Dreams twisted into endless corridors, balconies stacked upon balconies, each one holding the same pale figure. She climbed silently from one to another, drawing nearer. He woke drenched in sweat, certain someone stood at the foot of his bed. His eyes darted in darkness, but the room lay still. Only the faint sound of tapping against glass broke the silence, rhythmic, deliberate, as though fingernails traced the balcony door. Morning brought no comfort. His phone powered on without input, displaying the blurred photo again. This time, the girl's face was visible, smooth, eyeless, mouth gaping. He dropped the device, heart slamming. His reflection in the screen shivered, while hers leaned closer behind him. Friends dismissed it, urging him to relax. Yet, every time he crossed the living room, shadows pooled thicker by the balcony door, as if something waited just beyond the thin glass. Daniel tried avoiding the balcony, curtains drawn tight, but the tapping persisted each night, sharp against silence. One evening, he dared peek. She was there, standing inches from the glass, breath fogging faintly, though her lips never moved. His scream caught in his throat. The glass pulsed faintly inward, bending as though something pressed from outside. He staggered back. When he blinked, the balcony was empty, yet damp footprints stained the wooden floor inside. Fear corroded him, yet curiosity dragged him back. One night, compelled, he stepped outside again. The city below pulsed with music, but the air felt carved away. He looked across the street. The girl stood on the condemned balcony once more. This time her face was uncovered, eyeless sockets glistening, jaw slack. She raised her hand slowly, pointing directly at him. His knees buckled. From inside, friends shouted, asking what he stared at. He could not answer. They dragged him inside, curtains closed. He tried explaining, but words faltered. His phone buzzed again, another message from an unknown number. It contained only a single word, open. His friends scoffed, saying it was a prank. Yet, when they checked the door, condensation smeared across the glass from the outside. Daniel's heart plummeted. No one had been on that balcony for years. Still, the evidence shone wet and undeniable beneath the dim apartment light. Sleep deserted him. Each night, whispers trickled through the glass, layered voices calling his name. He stuffed pillows over his ears, but the sound seeped into his chest. Shadows thickened, forming outlines against the wall. One morning, his friends awoke to find the balcony door wide open. Daniel swore he never touched it. Yet muddy footprints trailed from the door to his bed, stopping inches from where he slept, frozen in sweat-drenched sheets. Days blurred, paranoia hollowing him. He refused to look outside, yet reflections betrayed him. In the bathroom mirror, she stood behind him, her head resting on his shoulder. He spun violently, shattering the glass, yet found emptiness. His hands bled, but fear numbed the pain. Friends left one by one, unsettled by his obsession. Alone, Daniel felt the weight of her silence heavier, pressing until even his own breath belonged to something beyond himself. Neighbors reported screams one night, but by morning the apartment was silent. The balcony door stood ajar, curtains torn, floor damp. Daniel was gone. Only his phone remained, screen cracked, showing a final photo himself standing on the condemned balcony opposite, eyes vacant, mouth slack. To this day, Passers-by swear they see a figure in gray, leaning against the railing, waiting silently for anyone brave or foolish enough to meet her gaze across Itaewon's glow. Lan Kwai-fong's laughter fades quickly when memory sharpens. Behind Hong Kong's neon lies a stairwell that consumes time itself. In Shanghai, crimson waits silently beneath glowing signs. In Seoul, condemned balconies breathe again. These places thrive because they remember. They are wounds disguised as streets, whispering warnings to those who mistake nightlife for safety. The lights entertain the living, but the shadows always collect their payment before dawn returns to the waking city. Each witness believed the night belonged to them until it bent into something hungrier. The stairwell repeated endlessly. The woman in red chose her reflection. The balcony claimed its tenant. These are not tales polished into myth, but scars still open. They linger because people still vanish, still hear whispers, still find reflections moving differently. The city thrives, but silence grows beneath. What nightlife hides is never forgotten. What is taken is never returned. You walked these stories with us, and now they walk with you. The haunted side of Lan Kwai-fong is not bound by walls or streets. It follows through echoes, reflections, and silence. Remember these warnings when music fades. Share this descent, subscribe for more, and comment the city you watch from, if you dare. Shadows travel easier when carried by voices. Tonight, one may already be waiting where your laughter turns to quiet.